I learned that Elmo getting vaccinated is the best way to keep himself, our friends, neighbors, and everyone else healthy.
So what I did a little while ago, I took a trip up there to the North Pole. I went there and I vaccinated Santa Claus myself. I measured his level of immunity and he is good to go. He can come down the chimney, he can leave the presents, he can leave, and you have nothing to worry about. Santa Claus is good to go.
Jeremy Loffredo for Rebel News out front of the Sesame Workshop headquarters, where children's show Sesame Street is recorded and produced. Yesterday, fictional character Elmo, officially 3 years old, announced that he had been vaccinated against COVID-19.
You were super duper today, getting your COVID vaccine, Elmo.
Yeah, there was a little pinch, but it was okay. Elmo was really glad to have Daddy and baby David there with him.
I had a lot of questions about Elmo getting the COVID vaccine. Was it safe? Was it the right decision? I talked to our pediatrician so I could make the right choice. I learned that Elmo getting vaccinated is the best way to keep himself, our friends, neighbors, and everyone else healthy.
After the announcement of the fictional toddler getting the jab, mainstream media went into overdrive reporting on the mundane, fictional story. CNN, Variety, and The Washington Post all hopped onto this bizarre for-profit propaganda targeting children and treating it as newsworthy. The PSA was produced in conjunction with the Ad Council, advertising giant whose CEO, Lisa Sherman, can be found on the World Economic Forum's website. Sherman is on the World Economic Forum's Information and Entertainment Stewardship Board. The Ad Council, formerly the War Advertising Council, has been criticized for its cozy relationship with the U.S. federal government. The council has been labeled by historian Robert Griffith as little more than a domestic propaganda arm of the federal government. But Elmo pushing official COVID messaging on parents and children is not an isolated incident. The latest stunt is just the most recent example of Sesame Street's pandemic-long targeting of children, society's most vulnerable and impressionable demographic. Back in November, Sesame Street character Big Bird, fictionally 5 years old, was publicly vaccinated against COVID, a week after the vaccine became available for 5 to 11-year-olds.
Now, your wing may hurt for a day or two, Big Bird, and you might feel a bit tired. I made the decision to get Big Bird vaccinated because COVID vaccines are the best way to keep yourself, our friends and neighbors, and me safe and healthy. Talk to your healthcare providers about the vaccine for your kids.
In the beginning of the pandemic, Sesame Street and mainstream media giant CNN collaborated on a special series dubbed The ABCs of COVID.
You know, COVID vaccines are now available for children 5 years and older. And the more people who get them, the better we're going to be able to help stop the spread of COVID and keep everyone healthy.
The series featured Elmo, Big Bird, Cookie Monster, and other Sesame Street characters, as well as CNN's chief medical correspondent, Sanjay Gupta. In several episodes of the series, Dr. Leanna Wen is a guest who fields COVID-related questions from fictional Sesame Street characters and children. Wen is a young global leader at the World Economic Forum and a fellow at the Brookings Institute, a think tank heavily funded by COVID vaccine manufacturers and the Gates Foundation, potential conflicts of interest that she does not disclose in her media appearances.
Will I be able to play baseball this summer if things get better?
Oh, Joe, I think a lot of people have that question. Dr. Lena, can we play baseball?
Well, I'm not sure, Joe, if you'll be able to play baseball with your team or your friends this summer. I hope so, but we just don't know yet.
So, does that mean that Elmo should wear a mask when he's outside around other people?
Well, Elmo, how old are you?
Oh, Elmo's 3.5.
Well, then yes, Elmo, you should wear a mask. Children under 2 years old do not need to wear a mask, but children older than 2 years old should wear a mask when they're out in public and they're around people.
So every time you put on this mask, you're being a superhero. And you know, when kids do that, they really keep everyone safe.
Episode 5 introduced the idea of death by COVID to young children by presenting a collage of people who supposedly died from the virus.
Family and your house is healthy.
There are some families, though, where people are getting very sick, and sometimes the people who got sick are no longer with us, and so their families are sad, and they're having a really tough time.
I even lost a friend. It's hard to believe, but it does make me sad.
Yeah, you know what, I know what it's like to lose a friend. Yeah, when I lost my friend, Mr. Hooper, I felt sad and confused, and I wanted to give him a picture I drew of him, but I couldn't because he died.
In the series finale, the featured guest was none other than Dr. Anthony Fauci. He talked about COVID vaccines.
The COVID-19 shot every year or just once?
The answer is, in all honesty, we don't know right now because we don't know how long the protection lasts. We're anticipating right now that you won't have to take it every year.
He told Sesame Street viewers the COVID vaccine is the reason they're getting Christmas presents this year.
So what I did a little while ago, I took a trip up there to the North Pole. I went there and I vaccinated Santa Claus myself. I measured his level of immunity and he is good to go. He can come down the chimney, he can leave the presents, he can leave, and you have nothing to worry about. Santa Claus is good to go.
For Rebel News, in New York City, I'm Jeremy Loffredo.
If you want to keep up to date with my reports from New York and get the other side of the story, go to rebelnews.com.